If you're looking for another light and delicious dip that you can have at a party or even for the upcoming game, I've got the perfect solution for you here. This is my Mediterranean 7-layer dip. But you won't just be getting this recipe. Since I'm making it all from scratch, you'll also learn how I make my homemade hummus. So if you'd like to see how this and my hummus are done, stick around because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook and amateur baker, and I'm here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is one of mine, but I got the idea from watching the pioneer woman, Ree Drummond. She made something very similar to this, and I thought it was going to be a perfect light dip that you could have for upcoming Super Bowl or any kind of party that you have. This is going to be my Mediterranean 7-layer dip. Now you could use all prepared items like from the store. You could get your hummus prepared, or you could also use Tzatziki instead of the yogurt that I'm going to be using. But I'm also going to be showing you how I make my hummus. I was actually surprised that I haven't made this on the channel before, so you're basically getting 2 recipes for the price of 1. I'll be showing you how I make my hummus because that is going to be the base for my dip. But I'm getting ahead of myself, as I often do. Let's go over the ingredients. I have here 2 15-ounce cans of chickpeas that have been drained, but I didn't let it drain down the sink. Over here, I have 1/2 cup of the aquafaba, or the liquid that comes out of the can when you're draining the chickpeas. Now, aquafaba can be used and is used a lot in vegan recipes as a replacement for certain things. In particular, I know of it as being a substitute for whipped cream. You can actually whip that up. I haven't really done it, but I've seen it done. But we are going to be using that to help loosen up our hummus and still give us some flavor. If you chose not to use that, you could use some water instead. Now I only need 1/4 cup of that, and the reason I have the measuring cup in there is because I want to measure out the 1/4 cup, but still have some extra. You want to have a little extra just in case the hummus comes out a little too thick. So just to loosen it up a little bit, I have a little extra of the aquafaba, and that will help me to loosen it up if it gets too thick. Here I have 2 cups of non-fat Greek yogurt, and here I have 1/2 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt. Now that's 2.5 cups divided. 1 part is going to be mixed with some lemon zest and things. The other part is going into our hummus. That's going to take the place of the traditional tahini that is usually put in there. Tahini is like an oily paste that is made from sesame seeds. So that's standard in hummus, but I'm trying to keep this as low bite, low point, low cal as I can. Here I have 1 large cucumber, and that has been peeled, seeded, and diced. Now to seed a cucumber, all you're really doing is scraping out the really wet interior with the seeds in it. So you cut the cucumber in half and then just take a spoon, scoop out the majority of the seeds, the wet part in the center, and then just dice it up. They're not in very large pieces, as you can see, because I want this to be a dip that you can just eat and not have to worry about giant chunks getting in the way of your eating it. Here I have a 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and those have been drained. There might be a little bit of liquid left in there, but you want them mostly drained. Now I'm using the regular size. You could use petite if you want. You could also use rotel if you wanted a little more of a spicy bite to this. But typically the Mediterranean foods are a little more mild. Here I have 1/2 cup of chopped Kalamata olives, and you could use any olive, but Kalamata are really very flavorful, and I really do love using them. and that is about 25. All I did was cut it in half lengthwise and then in half across, and that is the size that I have here. Now, one thing I did want to mention while I'm here is if you empty out a jar of olives, especially Kalamatas, which are really good, you still have some juice left in there, save it. Pour it into some pasta sauce sometime, give it a little olive flavor. It is really good. I do it all the time. Here I have 1/2 of a large red onion that has been diced, and those are in about 1/2-inch dice. Here I have 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Now that is fresh lemon juice. You could use bottled, but I am going to be using the zest in another part of this recipe, so that's why I chose to go with fresh. You could use bottled and maybe use a little more, like a tablespoon, in place of the lemon zest, but the lemon zest has all of the oils from the fruit, so they are very fragrant. Here I have 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. That is about 3 cloves, and you could do more or less depending on your taste. Here is 1 tablespoon of lemon zest. As I said, I'm using the fresh lemon, so I wanted to use the lemon zest because that really does have a nice strong flavor. But again, change it out for a tablespoon of lemon juice if you prefer to use the bottled. Here I have 1 teaspoon of dried dill, and if you wanted to use fresh, you would use 3 times that amount, so 1 tablespoon. Here I have 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cumin, and here I have 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt divided. 1/2 teaspoon here and 1/4 teaspoon here. I also have, for the top of this, to make sure that we stick with our Mediterranean theme, I have some fat-free feta, and I'm using the Athenos brand. That's the lowest in bites, points, and calories. But if you want to use regular, if you want to use reduced fat, if you want to use a different brand, it may alter the bites or points, but just put it into your recipe builder as you are doing it. All right, so those are all of the ingredients we are going to need. Let me shuffle a few things around and we'll get started. Now the first thing we're going to do is get our yogurt mixed up because we want the flavors to meld in there. Let it sit for a little bit while we work on the rest. As I said, you could use tzatziki. I chose not to just because I have cucumbers as one of the layers, but you could. And I do have a recipe for tzatziki sauce here on the channel. I will card that here and link it down below. There's also store-bought that is pretty low in bites, points, and calories. So if you want to make it easy on yourself, go right ahead and do so. But what I'm going to do is add to my yogurt the lemon zest, dill, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm just going to mix this up with my whisk to get that incorporated so that everything is spread throughout and the dill has a chance to hydrate in our yogurt. The yogurt looks nicely speckled. It looks like the dill is all throughout. So that is it for our first step. We're gonna let this sit and mellow as we move on. The next step is to make our hummus. Again, if you use store-bought, you obviously don't need to do this step, or you could just do this step if all you wanted was the hummus. That's why on the thumbnail it says hummus and Mediterranean 7-layer dip. So you can make just the hummus and enjoy that. I do it all the time. But what we're going to start with is putting our chickpeas into our food processor. And now I'll put the lid on and we're just gonna pulse these a bit to break them up. We're not looking for them to get too creamy yet. We just want to break them up a little bit before we put the other ingredients in. So just about 5 pulses is all it takes just to get it broken up. And you can see it's processed, but it's not smooth by any means. So now we're going to add in our lemon juice, garlic, 1/4 cup of the aquafaba or water, Greek yogurt, cumin, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I have the leftover aquafaba here so that if I do decide it's a little too thick, I can add a little bit in there to loosen it up. But now we're just going to process it for probably about a minute and see how it comes out. So it's been a minute. I'm going to check the creaminess, but I'm also going to scrape down the sides because some little bits of chickpea are on the side of the wall and I want to get them in there. But this actually looks like the perfect consistency, not too thick, not too loose. So I don't think I'll be needing any of the aquafaba, but I do need to process this again for maybe about 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, and that's all there is to making your own hummus. So easy, so delicious, and I will be giving you the nutrition facts for the hummus alone, as well as for the entire dip. So don't worry about that. You will be getting these, and both recipes, of course, will be on the website. Okay, I did just taste it, and it tastes perfect, but what I want to do is just process it a little bit more to try to get it a little smoother. And that was just about another 20 seconds just to get it looser, and the texture is perfect. So let me grab my dish. We're gonna get this thing assembled and we'll be done. Delicious, quick and easy, especially if you use store-bought ingredients. But even without doing that, it's not taking very long at all. But give me a second, I'll be back. All right, so I have about a 9-inch baking dish here, and this hummus makes about 3 cups. If you use the 16-ounce container of the hummus that you buy at the store, you may want to do it in an 8-inch just so it doesn't thin out too much, or just get 3 8-ounce packages of the store-bought. Now I've spread the hummus around the bottom of the dish here. That is layer number 1. Layer number 2 is I'm going to sprinkle on the red onion. You just want to sprinkle that all over. And if you don't like red onion, if you don't like onion at all, you could leave it out, maybe exchange it for some pepper. Red pepper in particular would be good, but I like the little bite of the red onion. Spread that out as evenly as you can. And then I will tap it in there a little bit just to make sure our layer stays in place. Layer number 3 is our yogurt. We're just going to put this on top. I'm going to dollop it around and then spread it once I get that in here. And this is 2 cups, so if you wanted to use the store-bought, you'd get about 16 ounces of Tzatziki from the store. But you just want to spread that on top as gently as you can so you don't disturb the layers too much. When you dip into this, you want everyone to get the same experience of all the layers. So you got to make sure you get this out to the edges. And if there's a little mingling of the hummus and the yogurt, it's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. So that was layer 3. Next, we're going to go in with our cucumbers and just dot those all over and get those spread out evenly on top of our yogurt mixture. So this is layer 4. And I'll just spread that out a little bit with my hands and kind of press that in. Next layer is our tomato. We're just going to do the same thing. And there will be some liquid in the bottom of the bowl because you just were draining them, you weren't pressing them out. So just while you're taking the tomatoes out, you can leave that liquid behind. You don't want to make this dip too soggy. So that was layer 5. I'm going to press that in. Layer 6 is our Kalamata olives. And again, you could use any olives you want, but we're just doing the same thing, just spreading those around to make sure that we get those evenly dispersed. And our final layer, layer 7, is the feta. Now, some of these chunks can still be a little large, so I will break them up as I sprinkle them on top if they are too big. You just want to get feta sprinkled all over the top of this dish. And I am using the whole 5-ounce container, which is about 1 1/4 cups. Now you could use more, you could use less. It all depends on your taste. I definitely think feta is a necessity in a Mediterranean dip. And then I'll just do the same, kind of press it gently just to get everything settled in there together. And that's all there is to it. What I would do now is cover it and let it sit in the fridge for at least an hour before serving. But you could honestly have it right now if you really wanted to. Now you can serve this as you like. I like using these Joseph's Flax Oat Bran and whole wheat pita breads. One of these is just one Better Balanced Bite or Blue Point, and I cut it up. Sometimes I'll throw them in the air fryer to crisp them up, and sometimes I'll just throw them in the toaster oven to do that. Even if you just have them as is, it's still great. But you can also use, like I've used Wassa crackers, the crisp breads. Those are very low. It's 2 of those for one Better Balanced Bite or Old Blue Point. Or you could use tortilla chips. You could serve it however you like. You could do it with some crudité, which is just a fancy word for saying raw vegetables. But that is all there is to making my Mediterranean 7-layer dip. And this is going to serve 12 people. You could do more if you want, but I like a nice generous portion. And when you hear the bites, points, and calories, I don't think you'll mind either. Now, I did say I'd give you the nutrition facts for the hummus alone, so let me do that first. And that is also for 12 servings. That makes about 3 cups, so it's about a 1/4 cup per serving. But for just the hummus, it is going to be 0 Better Balanced Bites or Old Blue Points. I'm on the Healthy Better Balanced plan, which is equivalent to the old WW Blue plan, which is around where their current plan is. Now, if you are following calories, the calories for the hummus is 86. And if you are following macros, the fat for the hummus is 1.3 grams. Saturated fat is 0.1 grams. Protein is 5.3 grams. Carbs are 14.1 grams. Fiber is 3.7 grams. And sugars are 2.7 grams for just the hummus. Now for this dip, it's not going to get much worse than it was for the hummus, because 1 serving of this, which is serving 12, is only going to be 1 Better Balanced Bite or Old Blue Point. Now if you were following calories, the calories for 1/12 of this is 151. And if you are following macros, the fat is 2.7 grams. Saturated fat is 0.3 grams. Protein is 12.6 grams. Carbs are 19.8 grams. Fiber is 4.9 grams. And sugars are 5.6 grams for 1/12 of this delicious dip. But there you have it, another game day dip. Last week I did the Cowboy Caviar, which I actually use as a side, or even as some of you may have seen if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I did end up mixing some of that in with some pasta and some pork to make a nice light salad for 6 Better Balanced Bites. But this is just in time for game day if you're into that kind of thing, which I'm not a fan, but I'll eat this during a movie. I don't care. It's delicious. And if you enjoyed this recipe and this video, I'd appreciate the usual to help out my channel. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. We do have a collab coming up. We have a collab pretty much every month. The 3rd Sunday of the month, and this month I am hosting, and it is for chocolate. Wait until you see what I've got for you there. But hit that notification bell and you'll be notified whenever any of my videos comes out. Now, if you want the recipe for this or just the hummus, both will be linked directly below in the description box. There's also a link to the blog itself. If you're looking for any of my recipes, that's where you're going to find them. Also down there is my Amazon storefront. If I've used anything that you were interested in, it may be there. And also for about another 2 weeks, I have a link and a code down there that will save you 10% off of the Simply Cool Things utensil set that I've been using. And I did a review and an unboxing for it about a week ago, and I really am enjoying them. I used a little spatula today to spread this around, and I love it. But that's down in the description box as well if you're interested. Also down there you'll find my social media, both my Instagram and 3 Facebook groups that I'm part of. So go check out that description box for all sorts of information. Now I'm gonna go get some pita cut up and air fry it or not. I'm not sure yet. But either way, it's gonna be delicious, and I hope you're enjoying some of this yourself, whether it's for game day or any time of the year. So until next time, bye.